Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com, and this is a sensor review of the brand new Canon EOS R6 Mark III. Now I'm going to show you real-world high ISO as well as base ISO examples. I'm going to show you rolling shutter examples, and we also take it into the studio because I know a lot of people have spent a good amount of money and might care about those studio tests. We're also going to put it against the Canon R6 Mark II because some people might want to see the differences from the R6 Mark II to the R6 Mark III. So to recap what I shot with the R6 Mark III, I photographed modest Yahoo in many different situations. I have flag football, we have field hockey, we have some examples shot with the C50 with still images out at a baseball game, also cyclocross, skateboarding, and I also shot some video out at a soccer match. Now some images were shot with the mechanical shutter and others with the electronic in the real world, and I'll tell you about 99% of the images I shot in the real world were done with the electronic shutter, but in the studio test you're going to see shots with the mechanical and the electronic to see if it takes a hit with either of those. But now let's jump into some sample images from the real world. We're going to start with the base ISO. This is 100 ISO of modest Yahoo. We zoom in on this and it looks absolutely fantastic. But of course, it's 100 ISO. It's meant to look fantastic, all right? Keep that in mind. I personally love that I shot this at 1.4, but this isn't a test about how it shoots at 1.4. It's about the 100 ISO, but I love the colors and the tones I was able to pull out of this image. Now the next image is just a regular base ISO of 100 just to show you what you can get. As we zoom in, we can see it looks super clean as expected, but look at the colors throughout the image. We've got a nice background, we have a ton of different colors, whether they're in focus or out of focus, and I think they look nice and clean and nice and vibrant. But how does it do in the real world in high ISO situations? Now this is shot at 4000 ISO. It's not really the highest ISO that you might ever go to, but I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Can I see noise or grain when I zoom in 1:1? And the answer to that question is yes, 100%. But keep in mind that I am editing all of my files. I edit all of my raw files. I'm not going to deliver something that isn't edited. And my style might bring out more noise and grain than you like, but a lot of this is subjective. And I'll tell you, when I deliver these to Modest Yahoo, he didn't call me and say, Jared, why is there so much noise in there? Yiggy yo, yiggy yo, yo, yo. No, he didn't say that. He's like, these are great. Thank you. Because that's what matters when you deliver a file, is what your client has to say. This is my edit. And this is without any editing. I mean, it looks nice, it looks natural, but I feel like I need to bump it up. But what about 8000 ISO? So I pushed this to 8000 ISO. I'm at f4 here. If I was using a 1.2 or a 2.8, of course I could drop that ISO a little bit more, but 8000 ISO looks fine to me. And I think you could push this camera to 10 or 12,800 in the right situations and still get fantastic results. Look, you have to get your exposures close. There's some situations where I may be off by a stop or a stop and a half, and that's perfectly fine. You have plenty of latitude to bring those files back. But it's when you start running into situations where you're 4 stops off and you try to save an image, that's a problem. Also, if you go beyond 8000 ISO or just much higher, just understand that you might not have a lot of light in that situation anyway, and so the image might not be good at the end of the day. Or if you're not using larger aperture lenses and you're shooting at like f8, of course you're gonna have to bump that ISO much higher in low light situations, which leads to less quality images. A lot of times it's a you problem and not so much the camera problem. Now let's move on to some examples about rolling shutter. I had to dig deep to try and find any issues in any of the sports that I was shooting, and this was the best example of the rolling shutter I could get with the R6 Mark III. That is a little bit of rolling shutter, bowing of the ball, that's going to happen with super fast moving action. Now keep in mind that the readout speed of the R6 Mark III is better than the readout speed of the R6 Mark II. Now here's an example taken with the C50 since the R6 Mark III wasn't out during baseball season, at least for the Phillies because they didn't make it to the World Series, but it's the same sensor. Keep that in mind. You do have rolling shutter in this situation. We have a fast moving bat, we have a fast moving ball, and this angle is the angle that you will generally run into some rolling shutter like you see right here. It is not a stacked sensor. The R5 Mark II, you're not gonna see this. The R3, you're not really seeing this either. But this isn't that big of a deal because in most of the sports that I'm photographing, you don't have to worry about it because the player here is running fast, but he's not bowing. There's no rolling shutter issue here. I just want to hammer this home. The rolling shutter with the electronic shutter is not that big of a deal here. This is a fast readout speed. It's not stacked sensor fast, but as you can see with a lot of the examples, if you were shooting field hockey coming directly at you and they hit the ball towards you, even if it's coming in fast, you're not going to see a problem. So I don't have a problem shooting in completely electronic shutter, but if you want to completely do away with any possibility of rolling shutter in any fast moving action, you have the ability to shoot at 12 frames per second with the mechanical shutter. And the final two images, I just want to show you ones that I really love. I love the way that this shot looks. It just feels really good. It's like one of those band shots. It's only at 800 ISO, but I don't care I just think it looks incredible. One other one where I was off by roughly, what was I, about a stop and a half off? Nope. A little over a half of a stop. This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like after, just bringing it up just a little bit, and it looks really good straight off of the sensor. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you what our custom Lightroom presets from FroPak 4 do to this photo right here, starting with Blue's Clues, Brooklyn. We've got C41, Copper Tone, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, and Wet Hot American Summer. But my all-time favorite from FroPak 1 is Skittles, and it makes this one go boom. Our presets also work on mobile extremely well. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow, give yourself a great starting point, or you want to edit on the go, whether they're JPEGs or RAWs on your phone, we've got you covered, and that's why we created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at fronosphoto.com/FroPak4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or you can grab the Grand Slam bundle that includes FroPak 1, 2, 3, and 4 and save even more. And don't forget, these work great on mobile. Now, back to the video. That's using it in the real world where I think it really matters, and I'm happy with the results, very happy with the results that I got. But it's the studio tests that some of you guys want to see, so we're gonna run through those studio tests right now. We use the same 51.2 lens on both cameras. We also locked off the tripod and set up a scene with a 5-stop difference where one side is exposed properly and the other is roughly 5 stops underexposed. Remember, this is an extreme situation. This is more to help you see what pushing or pulling your file you can get away with and what the file can actually handle. First, let's talk about dynamic range. The electronic shutter still takes a hit versus the mechanical shutter since we're not dealing with a stacked sensor, so we're still getting a 12-bit RAW file in electronic shutter mode versus 14-bit with the mechanical shutter. So as expected, if you're looking to get the most dynamic range out of this camera, shoot with the mechanical shutter. But again, almost all of the images I shot with this camera were done in the real world with the electronic shutter. So remember, studio versus real world. But if you want the best of the best and you want that 14-bit, you can always shoot with the mechanical shutter and still get 12 frames per second. Speaking of the mechanical shutter, let's compare the dynamic range to the R6 Mark II. Now, it's tough to really see much of a difference here, but when it comes to the electronic shutter, we do see a significant improvement in dynamic range. The R6 Mark III looks much cleaner when comparing it to the Mark II. Now, in general, the Mark II loses about a stop and a half of dynamic range when switching it from mechanical shutter to electronic shutter, but now we have a cleaner file and higher resolution in the R6 Mark III. Now, what I was surprised about was high ISO. Typically, you also take a hit when it comes to shooting electronic over mechanical in terms of noise. Again, that's 12 versus 14-bit RAW. We saw this specifically with the high ISO capability in the R6 Mark II. It's cleaner to shoot in mechanical, but here with the R6 Mark III, it's nearly the same. Maybe a slight difference if you look hard enough, but even at 64,000, you maybe lose a little color information and detail in the electronic shutter, but again, it is very close. We're talking about practice. Practice? We're talking about 64,000 ISO. If you're up that high and you're looking, you're gonna find some issues, all right? That's 64,000. Practice? But with all of that being said, there is a downside. As always, with the resolution bump, you tend to take a hit on high ISO capability as well, and that does seem to be the case here, since the R6 Mark II does look slightly cleaner in a lot of our side-by-side high ISO tests. Now, keep in mind, the R6 Mark II is 24 megapixels, the R6 Mark III is 32.5. That's why you see a 2/3 of a stop difference when it comes to the native ISO. But as I've always said, the smaller the sensor, the higher the ISO capability generally is when it comes to getting cleaner files. But it's not that big of a deal right here. Now let's talk about something that really matters, the color fidelity, the color quality that you're pulling off of this sensor. Now when you look and you put these side by side, it looks like we get a more colorful and pleasing image with the resolution bump in the R6 Mark III, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing, because in the real world, we're not shooting 5 stops off and correcting it in post. Now we know that the C50 is a dual base ISO sensor, but what about the R6 Mark III? Both of those cameras have the same sensor, so you would expect it to have the same dual base ISOs, but Canon would not confirm that, but we are here to test that out. So we did a cap test and we can confirm in stills and normal video, the native gains are 100 and 800 ISO. Now keep in mind, these exposures are exaggerated, so we can find out which ISOs were the cleanest. And in log and raw video, it's 800 and 6400, again, just like the C50. You'll notice that it cleans up significantly when it hits these ISOs. Now, most of the soccer footage that I shot, because it was under the lights and I used an variable ND filter, was at 6400, and it looks really clean. Keep in mind, in the studio, these are exaggerated tests. You might not see the same results in the real world, but just know that it is cleaner at 6400 when it comes to video, when you're shooting log or raw, than it is at 4000. Let me cut in here real quick and say, do you struggle getting sharp, quality images like these in low light situations? Well, if you said yes, I have a free guide to capturing images in low light situations over on froknowsphoto.com. Just look for this orange box, put your name, email address in it, hit send it. I'm gonna send you that guide for free. Now, back to the video. So at the end of the day, Canon did a very good job going from the sensor in the R6 Mark II to the R6 Mark III. Even though you have more resolution, it is pretty darn close in a lot of the situations that we tested. We also have a faster readout speed. It's not stacked sensor fast, but it is still very usable in just about every situation, and I personally wouldn't hesitate to use this camera in straight up electronic shutter mode to get the best 40 frames that I can get a second out of the camera. We also noticed that the color and the detail that you're getting off of this sensor is also better than the R6 Mark II. So once again, fantastic job from Canon. So what do you guys think based off of these real world examples as well as studio examples? Let me know down below. But I want to end this video with a slideshow of some of my favorite images with the Canon R6 Mark III. And if you haven't seen the preview of the R6 Mark III, it is linked down below where we go into all of the specs and all of the details. So thank you guys very much for watching. Jared, Polin, froknowsphoto.com. See ya.